What happens when you take Marvel's first family and strip away everything that made them, well, a family? What happens when you rebuild a beloved superhero team from the ground up, only to watch it all collapse in spectacular fashion? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating disasters in superhero cinema history. This is the story of Fantastic Four 2015, a film that promised to revolutionize Marvel's first superhero team, but instead became a cautionary tale about studio interference, creative vision, and the delicate balance between innovation and tradition. But here's the thing. I don't think this movie is as simple as good or bad. There's something genuinely curious happening here. Something that makes it worth examining beyond the headlines and the box office numbers. So buckle up, because we're about to explore the most controversial Marvel movie you've probably tried to forget. Before we dive into today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss what we're covering today. Let's set the stage. By 2015, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was in full swing. We'd had Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and the first Avengers movie had proved that shared cinematic universes could work. Meanwhile, Fox was sitting on the film rights to the Fantastic Four, trying to figure out how to make these characters relevant in a post-Avengers world. Enter Josh Trank, fresh off the success of Chronicle, a found-footage superhero origin story that proved he could handle young people gaining extraordinary powers. Fox handed him the keys to Marvel's first family. Our story begins in the most unlikely place for a superhero movie, a middle school science fair. We meet Reed Richards not as a brilliant scientist, but as a kid with big dreams and a homemade teleporter that actually works. And you know what? I kind of love this opening. The film immediately establishes that Reed isn't your typical superhero. He's not wealthy like Tony Stark, he's not a god like Thor, and he's not a super soldier like Captain America. He's just a smart kid from a working-class family who happens to be really good at science. There's something refreshingly grounded about this approach. Fast forward to the Baxter Foundation, and we meet our adult cast. Here's where things get interesting, and where the film starts to reveal its deeper themes. The Baxter Foundation isn't just a school. It's essentially a think tank where brilliant young minds are recruited to solve impossible problems. Sound familiar? It should. This is basically X-Men's school for gifted youngsters, but for science instead of mutations. Reed Richards, played by Miles Teller, is our protagonist. Brilliant but socially awkward, driven by genuine curiosity rather than heroism. Sue Storm, played by Kate Mara, is the adopted daughter who's found her place in this scientific family. Johnny Storm, played by Michael B. Jordan, is the outsider trying to prove himself. And Ben Grimm, played by Jamie Bell, is the loyal friend who gets dragged into something way over his head. But the most intriguing character is Victor Von Doom, played by Toby Kebbell. In this version, Victor isn't a foreign monarch or a mustache-twirling villain. He's a brilliant programmer who built the Foundation's computer systems and feels possessive of both the technology and Sue. This is Victor as the scorned genius, the bitter rival who believes he deserves recognition. Let's talk about the Quantum Gate, because this is where the movie gets really interesting from a sci-fi perspective. The idea of parallel dimensions accessible through quantum manipulation isn't just comic book science. It's based on real theoretical frameworks in quantum mechanics and string theory. The film treats interdimensional travel as an engineering problem rather than magic, which is actually pretty refreshing in a genre that often handwaves its science. And Planet Zero itself is fascinating. It's not just an alien world, it's described as a dimension where the laws of physics work differently. The green, lava-like substance that transforms our heroes isn't some mysterious radioactive goo. It's matter from a reality where different physical constants apply. That's genuinely creative science fiction. And then comes the accident. And folks, this is where Fantastic Four 2015 gets really dark, really fast. The transformation sequence in this movie is genuinely disturbing. We're not talking about the usual superhero origin story, where someone gets powers and learns to control them. Reed's body becomes elastic, but it's not portrayed as cool or useful. It's terrifying and uncontrollable. Sue disappears and reappears randomly, clearly traumatized by the experience. Johnny bursts into flames in what looks like agony. And Ben becomes a living rock formation, losing his human appearance entirely. Reed's reaction, escaping and spending a year trying to find a cure, makes perfect sense in this context. He doesn't want to be a hero. He wants to undo the terrible thing that happened to his friends. When we catch up with our heroes a year later, they've become government assets. And this is where Fantastic Four 2015 accidentally stumbles into some really heavy themes. Ben, Johnny, and Sue aren't superheroes in the traditional sense. They're weapons. The military has given them specialized suits to control their abilities, and they're being used for combat operations. Reed is captured and essentially forced into rebuilding the Quantum Gate under threat. This isn't the X-Men's philosophical approach to human-mutant relations. This is straight-up military conscription of superpowered individuals. Think about the implications here. The government witnesses an accident that transforms 4 people into living weapons. And then Victor returns and everything changes. But his transformation is the most extreme of all. He's been fused with his environment suit and now possesses telekinetic abilities. More importantly, he's developed a completely different perspective on Planet Zero. While our heroes see their transformation as a curse, Victor sees Planet Zero as home and Earth as a threat to it. When Victor returns, he's no longer human in any recognizable sense. He's been transformed by his environment into something that belongs more on Planet Zero than Earth. And his logic, while extreme, isn't entirely wrong. Humans have proven they'll use the Quantum Gate for military purposes, potentially threatening the stability of both dimensions. Victor's plan to destroy Earth to protect Planet Zero is genocidal and clearly villainous, but it raises questions the movie doesn't explore. Is he still human enough to be held responsible for human moral standards? These are the kinds of questions good science fiction should wrestle with. The final confrontation on Planet Zero is fine. It's competently staged. The visual effects work, and there's a clear resolution. Our heroes work together, use their abilities in creative ways, and ultimately defeat Doom by essentially feeding him into the dimensional portal. Ben gets the killing blow, which feels appropriate given that he's suffered the most from his transformation. But the battle feels rushed and almost obligatory. We've spent most of the movie exploring the psychological and ethical implications of their situation, and then it all gets resolved with a fairly conventional superhero fight. It's not bad, but it doesn't feel like the natural conclusion to the story the film was trying to tell. The movie ends with our heroes being given their own facility, Central City, where they can study their abilities without government interference. They decide to embrace their powers and become the Fantastic Four, protectors of Earth. On paper, this is a classic superhero ending. The heroes accept their destiny and choose to use their abilities for good. But given everything we've seen, it feels somewhat hollow. These characters were traumatized, imprisoned, and weaponized.
It's fantastic.
So what are we left with? Fantastic Four 2015 is undeniably a flawed film. It's paced poorly, it makes strange narrative choices, and it doesn't fully commit to its most interesting ideas. But it's also genuinely ambitious in ways that most superhero movies aren't. This movie tried to ground Marvel's most fantastical team in real science and genuine emotion. It asked hard questions about transformation, trauma, and the responsibility that comes with extraordinary abilities. Would I recommend this movie? Probably not as entertainment, but as a fascinating case study in superhero filmmaking, as an example of ambitious ideas not quite reaching their potential. It's absolutely worth discussing. Sometimes the movies that don't quite work are more interesting than the ones that do. What did you think of Fantastic Four 2015? Did it deserve its reputation? Or do you think there's more to it than meets the eye? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into controversial films.